Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the No Limit Selling Podcast. And in some ways, sales is the easiest profession to do in the world badly. But if you want to be a master at it, it's not so. It's just two elements, right? There's this element of process and mindset. And Dr. Cindy is our guest today, and she is going to show us how to be awesome at both. Dr. Cindy, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So what's a nice girl like you doing a business like this? So how did you enter into sales?
Honestly, kicking and screaming. I never wanted to be in sales. I was put into that role and about, I don't know, a couple months in, realized I'd actually been selling my whole life. I just didn't call it sales. And it was a pivotal moment in my career. And ever since then, I've been sort of shouting from the mountaintops, we're all in sales. You just need to do it the right way.
It's like we've forgotten. It's like you take any 4-year-old on the planet, they know which parent to go to and how to pitch it in a way that I was out shopping. I was taking my great niece to go buy shoes. And she was like maybe 11. And she goes, Uncle Umar. I go, yes. You know, if I buy 2 pairs, you'll save more money. It's like, really? Too
Oh, tell her to
funny.
call me when she's ready to get a job.
I will. So you are the first lady of sales. Welcome to our humble show. So how did you get that title? First lady of sales.
It started as kind of a joke. So I was getting
Hmm.
ready to go on stage to give a speech, and somebody said, "Oh, this little lady is next." And somebody else said, "Little lady, she's like the first lady." And it just sort of stuck. And so
Nice. I love
often
that.
I was, at the beginning, I was kind of the only woman that ended up being on the stage. And so it was a joke that stuck around. And here we are 20 years later.
Ah, brilliant. Because what's kind of interesting is a lot of times you can just take the title you want.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
if there's no one's got it, then it's like, okay, I am the sales guru for veterinarians. Okay, you are. Uh,
Yes.
so, Cindy, what there are plus or minus 5 steps in the sales process. Landing the appointment, which for a lot of people is really difficult, doing the presentation, handling the objections, closing the sale, and going deeper into the account and getting referrals. So why don't we break it down there? World according to Cindy, uh, what's the best way to get appointments?
So I actually think there's a step that happens before all of that. And this is the first
Hmm.
step in my sales process, which is having a really solid plan. And the way to get the appointment is to do your homework, figure out who you're calling
Yes.
on, what's most of interest to them. And I find that a lot of salespeople forget that when they're reaching out, they're still reaching out to human beings, even if it's via the internet or social media or through email. You've got to know what makes them tick. And you've got to know what I call it the treat is for that person. And that's the biggest thing in getting an appointment is you're pitching somebody versus inviting them to explore something that they want. Do your homework, have a good plan, and then reach out with a message. And if you've got 15 people on your prospect list, you have 15 different versions of that maybe, and that's okay. But you've got to be ready. So you've got to create that space in your calendar to plan for it.
So it is really easy to understand what you've just said, but when people go to actually do it, they get like either they use it as a way to distract themselves. No, I got to do more research on Dr. Cindy. Once I know, what her 23andMe score is. Oh, you're 1% Hindu. I am too. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm glad I spent 24 hours researching you. So they use it as an excuse to not get on the call. And then some people just uh, do the motions of trying to find something out and they don't actually do it effectively. So what's a good 1, 2, 3-step process of finding something that's actionable or a trigger moment that would entice Dr. Cindy to spend some time with me?
Such a great question, Umar. So the first thing is, don't get stuck in analysis paralysis, which is exactly what you're saying. We think we have to have all the answers. No, you don't. And when I'm coaching a salesperson or a sales manager, what I tell them is find the nugget that creates an emotional connection. You went to the same school, you belong to the same association, you have the same interest. Anything that can create an emotional tie that says, I did my homework and you're important to me as a human. I'm not just trying to sell you something.
Hold that thought for a second. And this is like the dumbest thing on the planet. And it's like, Dr. Cindy, my nephew went to your same school, and you'd be shocked how that builds the tribe. It's like, your nephew, oh my God, what's he taking? And it's like, but it works because people have these dual things governing them. I want to be an individual, and you may not know this, but I'm really special. But I have this deep need to belong to a tribe. And if you can figure out that what tribe we're in, and we're both in helping salespeople do awesomer, that's enough for us to go, let's have coffee.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so funny you say that, because everybody thinks they're unique little snowflakes, and they are to a degree. But we're pack animals at the end of the day. We want to belong to that pack. And so when you can show them you have a connection, and you also make them feel like that special person by having done your research, you're so much further ahead of the game.
You said, we're all snowflakes, and some of us are flaky. But anyway, so once you've done the research, how do you reach out and get an audience? Like, what are the steps to do that? Because sometimes it's like you're there at the right time, and they're like, oh my God, where have you been all my life? I really need you. And a lot of times it takes more nurturing to get them to even notice you. And I'll give you a good example. I was hired to work with this professional, and he goes, oh, Umar, when you did that presentation 3 years ago, you've been on my radar, and I've been stalking you silently ever since. And now a need has arisen, and I reached out. And it was like, you could have said hello once just to let me know what I'm producing is useful, but sometimes people don't do that. So how do you reach out and make that connection?
So it's very funny. I was actually giving a workshop for advanced sales folks yesterday, and that was one of the areas that we discussed is, how do you do it nowadays, right? We live in this hybrid world. We're very distracted. We're influx of information is just overwhelming each day. You've got to break through the noise. So I think there's two things that help you with the outreach. Number one is timing, and number two is method. And then, of course, the message, right? The message matters across all of them. But it's the timing of it based on what's going on in their industry. What are the trends? Is there something that's been in the news? Something that is that moment of timing. And also looking at just the time of day, the time of week. Don't make a sales call on a Friday afternoon. Nobody wants to hear from you, So,
by the way, make a sales call on the Thursday afternoon, because a lot of times the senior executives are cleaning up their desk on Thursday afternoons because they want Friday free, and they're at their desk. And 5 minutes before any hour, because oftentimes they're waiting for their 2:00 meeting, and you call 5 minutes before then. It's like, oh, is this Cindy? No, it's Umar. Damn it. Why did I pick up the phone? But yes, I love that.
It's true, though. It's true. And then the second piece is the method. Be unique. Everybody sends generic emails. Stop it. I don't want any more generic emails. I actually got something on one of the social media platforms today where they forgot to use their little app appropriately, and it said, hi, first name. Come on. We can do better than that. So make it personal and always
make it
be
dear
curious.
Occupant. I think that's a lot more heartwarming.
Dear person sitting at your desk. Yeah.
Yeah. So once you get that outreach done and you get your meeting, which these days is like virtual, like we're doing, but where in the world are you, by the way?
I'm in San Francisco today.
Berkeley used to be my old hometown. I'm in Toronto. So just in a silly aside story, I decided to kind of research the Sufis, the spiritual side of Islam. So I said, I really need to figure these guys out. And so I reached out to their worldwide organization, and they had a US organization, and they had a Maryland organization, and they had a Baltimore chapter where I lived. And when I looked at where they were, I was on 619 Holland, and they were at 719 Holland. They were like on my street, which is like totally crazy.
Kind of amazing. Meant to be.
Yeah, it was. Unfortunately, they had standards. They wouldn't let me in. But anyway, let's go on. Okay. And we won't worry about my scars. That's fine. So you get the appointment, and you have that first conversation about how you can help that person. What do you recommend people do in that presentation mode?
So I actually recommend they don't present. Funny enough, I think that the whole piece is to understand what they want and get permission to present something. And I think that's a big mistake that a lot of salespeople make too. And even non-salespeople do this, right? You're just presenting your idea, you're pitching. Nobody wants to be pitched. Nobody wants to be sold, but everybody likes to buy. And in order to invite them to buy, you've got to understand that connection that they would have. And so I think it's around being curious and asking the right questions, being consultative, and then offering your solution as that solution to whatever needs that you were able to uncover. And I think that salespeople jump the gun on this. I think they get really excited. They uncover one little thing and they're like, ooh, I have an answer.
I've got an answer.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Dr. Cindy, the first step to that process is if everybody's holding their cards to their vest, close to their vest, because they don't want you to know, especially because you're a salesperson. And so in order for them to reveal what's going on, you need to build trust. What would be one or two things you could do to build up enough trust that they feel more open to sharing what's really going on as opposed to the answers I should share?
Yeah, you know what? This is the thing that I coach most salespeople on, and I know you do too, which is no sale is ever going to happen without trust. I don't care if you're selling widgets. I don't care if you're selling software. I don't care if you're selling yourself. I got to trust you. And so one of the things that I think salespeople can do to build trust faster is to do their homework, go in with that plan, and let the other person know where this journey is going to go. Because a lot of times when any prospect is meeting with a salesperson, they're bracing for the pitch. They're sort of already coming in going, oh, what's it going to be? And if you reveal that, hey, we're going to have a conversation, Coach Umar, and at the end of this, if I can help you, I'm going to present whatever it is. And if I can't, that's cool. We're going to shake hands and part as friends. But today is exploration. Today is me understanding. And when you lay that out, and then you also create a safe space for them to share their vulnerabilities, you let them know this is a safe space to do that. And this is a mistake I find a lot of salespeople make when they're in a vertical. If you're selling to all software companies, if you're selling to all attorneys, whatever it is, you forget that they know you're going to have this conversation with them. And tomorrow you're going to go across the street and have it with their competition. Yes. You've got to let them know this stays here. There is a joint confidentiality. And if you can establish that, create a safe space, they can breathe a little easier in that moment and actually be able to then answer the questions more honestly, vulnerably, and you can actually get where you want to go.
Love that. So you've done the presentation. At some point, they've revealed what's going on. There's some problems. You can help them. You chat about that. And then oftentimes the objections that come up, very rarely is there a unique objection. They kind of fall on certain, pricing. It's now's not the right time. Talk to my assistant. So what is a good methodology to handle objections?
Very funny. We were talking about this in that workshop yesterday too. And I said, they're not special little objections that they've invented that day. You've probably got 7 to 10 in whatever industry, in whatever vertical that you're going to run up against every single time. Goes back to having a plan though. Did you plan for those? Do you have answers? Do you have stories on how to handle those? Do you know how to differentiate yourself when that comes up? Do you know how to take them through the exploration of why they feel that way? Create that emotional connection with them, get to the emotional root of the objection, then you can overcome it. But what I find that salespeople do, and I know you see this too when you're coaching them, is they try to sell their way over an objection. That's the mistake. Don't sell over the objection. The objection is actually your pivotal moment in the sales process to show them that they're not just a number. There's not just a sale to be made. This is a relationship. And it matters whatever they feel. Their feelings are valid, and you help them work through it. So then they don't have buyer's remorse.
Love that. So if you have any heart medication, you may want to take it now. But Dr. Cindy, a large percentage of salespeople do not ask for the sale. They'll talk around it and get close to it, but will not say, It sounds like this solves your problem, Cindy. It sounds like it's a $500,000 problem. How would you like to begin? Would be a simple way of doing that, but people feel uncomfortable doing it. So how do you get people to consistently ask for the sale once they've earned it, not too soon in the process? They've discovered some pain points. The customer says, oh my God, I need this fixed. You say, hey, we've got something that fixes it. Then how do you get them to ask?
You know, I'm constantly baffled by that too. And I know you, I know you are as well. It's like, why are we not doing this? It seems like the most simple part of the sales process. But I use an example when I'm coaching on this. And I ask people, I'm like, are you married? Do you know someone that's married? And they're like, well, of course. And I'm like, okay, well, do you think someone asked the other person a question at some point? Or did they just magically show up on this journey together at the courthouse or at the church on the same day? And then now they're
I'm a
completely
Pakistani.
together.
It's an arranged marriage. I didn't have to ask anything. No, I'm kidding. Of course you had to ask. Yes.
There's still an ask in there. Somebody asked, even if it was arranged,
Somebody,
right?
yeah.
So there was still an ask, and that's part of the challenge. Is you think about true relationships, not transactionships, but true relationships. There was an agreed upon commitment. You have to do that. We live in a question and answer society. When you go and check out at the checkout counter, you see that they're raising money for some charity. Yeah, you see it, but until the cashier says, would you like to donate, some money to this charity? It's not that you don't believe in that charity. It's that they didn't ask. So I think it's really, really important for salespeople to remember the ask is probably part of what's lengthening your sales cycle. And the ask and the lack of the ask is probably what's keeping your wallet from being fatter.
Yes. And doing the ask is when the real objections come up as well. And you can address the real one, not just one that somebody puts up as in, oh, it's a price issue. So now that you've got the client, there's another group of salespeople that feel really. So I had this one guy who's like a great salesperson, and he could not ask for referrals. When he goes to ask for it, he actually doesn't ask or asks really badly. And so my area of expertise is mindset. And so I said, tell me about the last time you went to ask for a referral and you either did badly or you distracted yourself because you felt uncomfortable. He says, okay, it was a couple of weeks ago. We go back there, get him to re-experience the feeling he was feeling. And there's a tool from applied neuroscience you can use to take any feeling and connect it to the unconscious mind that records everything. And as soon as we did that, it took him back to a forgotten childhood memory. He's in the kitchen with his dad and one of his dad's buddies from work. And his dad told his buddy from work, real men don't ask for help. And when he asks a customer for a $500,000 commitment, he's not asking for help. I'm providing a solution that you guys need. But when he asks for a referral, he's violating that belief. And once we figured out what the belief was, we changed it. And for him, it's like, all my clients are so happy because they want to help me out. I'm going to increase my sales by 30% this year. So it's all about mindset.
I love that story. And I'm so glad you shared it because I think so many salespeople struggle with this and they forget that your clients do want to help you. These are fans. They appreciate what you've done for them. I mean, think about as a consumer, when you've had a great experience and you went to a great restaurant, you want to go tell people. The problem is when you've been sold something or you've engaged in some kind of sales process, you don't really know how to go tell that story. And so you want to solicit their support and their help and tell them how to help you. I don't believe anybody does this life alone. I don't care who you are. Somebody gave you a chance at some point. Somebody believed in you. Like we all do this work of helping one another, but give your fans an opportunity by soliciting that help. Give them an opportunity. And it feels good to help somebody. Like it's so great. Like we feel so good. So give them that opportunity to feel good.
Absolutely. Before we part company, I'll just share a quick story because this is pivotal for me. Cindy, if you want to give me a gift like a Tesla or something, you can. When I was about 18 and somebody gave me a gift, I was like, no, you shouldn't have. It was too much. And then somebody wise took me aside and said, Umar, don't do that. Somebody went out of their way to give you something. You're denying them the gift of giving. Just say thank you. And it's been something that's stuck with me ever since. So yeah, give people the gift of letting them help you. So Cindy, how can people get a hold of you? How can you help them?
I would love to help people to be able to grow their business, embrace their inner 5-year-old or 4-year-old, and really be able to get over those ideas that they have, those misconceptions about sales and selling and what that means. And I'm easy to find, drcindy.com or at First Lady of Sales. That's one ST Lady of Sales.
Superb, Cindy. Thank you so much for being on the program. And I really enjoyed our short, focused presentation. I learned a lot.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a great pleasure.
Cindy, we need to further